Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And after the intro, I'm going to be talking about what I've cancelled and what is going to be keep going guys. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, I'm here with something new for you guys to enjoy. What if Naruto had all the curse techniques from Jujutsu Kaisen? And when I mean all the curse techniques, I mean all of them. Blood manipulation, tool manipulation, Dagon ability, Jogo ability, all the other curses, all the other sorcerers, yes, all, literally all of the curse manipulation techniques, every one of them guys. So yeah, it's gonna be hella crazy. So sit back, relax, and I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of the what ifs coming your way. And I hope you guys, well, if you're new, smash that red subscribe button and become a part of the family. So without further ado, wasting more time, what do you say we leap right into this? Begin now guys. So as I was saying guys, the cancellation, this will be my final guys. I've noticed that I've cancelled a lot, but some of them I've not really been able to keep up with. Not in terms of story wise, but in terms of how I wanted to play out, despite it being my story, but no more. I'll not be cancelling any more video from this moment on, so this will be the final. I've spent the last few days writing out all of my what ifs, such as neglected solo leveling, all of the ones that I'm doing over on Anime King 2, anime symbol, yes guys. I've write all of them out, so I'm not going to be cancelling anything more. This will be my final time cancelling and it's over here. So I'm not going to be doing the Viltrumite Naruto or the Sinbad Naruto guys. And I'm not going to be doing the Kenjaku anymore. Those will be the last what if you hear me cancelling. I'm not going to be cancelling anymore guys, because I've write all of them out. And if I'm doing something, I'm going to be fully committed to it. That means I'll be creating at least up to 10 parts of writing before I even go into it. And I've been working on this one for a while and I've created a lot of parts. And it's almost finishing my writing form, so yeah, no more cancellation. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoy them from this moment on. So without wasting more time, let's jump right into this new series. Begin now guys. We begin this episode in an unknown area. 4 Kumo ninjas were leaving the location. They were members of the Kumo Anvu. They were currently leaving the way. The one at the front, he was the leader of the group, and he had a very important scroll that they had just liberated, and they were now leaving said location as they moved through the darkness of the night. He had 3 of them behind him as he moved. They raced through the trees. They leaped across the stones. However, they were forced to come to a stop. The leader, quickly leaping away as an explosive tag went off right in front of him. He saw the kunai. However, his reaction time was immensely fast to be able to pull it off. His members, quick enough to evade the blast as well. They all landed. The leader looked around. He was shocked under his mask. How did they find us? He snapped his head toward the center of the group. What's going on? The censor seemed really confused. I'm not sure, he said. He didn't understand because he could not pick up on anything close by. So he was rather confused. What do you mean, the leader said. Who threw that? The censor should be able to find them. He closed his eyes as he started to spread his senses even more. After a minute of searching though, nothing. I'm not picking up on anything. So that came out of nowhere? The leader said, sounding quite irritated. One of the members on the left noticed something. He quickly moved As he winced in pain, it grazed and tore into his flesh. All of them spun around towards him. The man looked down toward his arm. What the hell? There was a nail in his hand. A nail? How the hell did that? He never got to finish the thought. Said nail tore through his flesh and tear into his skull. It split the mass. The man dropped to his knees as he collapsed. The three of them quickly went back to back. The leader surveying the area. Find them. Now! He said to his sensor, who was having a difficult time. 3 more nails came firing off. However, they were able to react as they were able to knock away all of them. But they could not pinpoint the location. The leader, he knew that he couldn't afford to waste time. In all 3 points, he said. Now, all of the members, including him, flashed through hand sign at an incredible speed. They all then release the same attack, lightning release, hollowing flash. The lightning sparked out and destroyed the surrounding trees and rocks, forcing someone to leap out of their hiding spot. His feet touched the ground, but there was not even a single sound. There he stood. He had a hammer in his right hand, and he had 3 nails, with his fists closed around them as they pointed outwards. The problem was, he seemed to be a teenager, much younger than all of them. The leader wasted no time. He pulled out a tanto that was strapped to his side. He sprinted across the clearing, blade ready to bisect this individual. However, the individual launched 3 nails. His face was also covered as well, concealing his identity. He was wearing a black mask around his face. It seemed to be attached to his undershirt. It wasn't any normal material though. It covered the lower half of his face. And on his head he was wearing a strange bandana of sorts. It was also black. It covered his forehead and everything. His eyes were the only things that were exposed. He released the 3 nails in the ear. They were all surrounded by a red aura. He then spun and knocked all of them with a hammer. However, the leader spun and dashed, his tanto scraping against 2 of them as he flipped. Now in mid-air, he came down to end the child. However, behind you! One of his men shouted out as he turned. The nail had stopped in mid-air and turned, and was now racing towards his back. But he wasn't squad leader for nothing. He spun in mid-air. He applied a lot of chakra to his blade before he sliced. It made contact and the needle exploded into a strange substance, what seemed to be chakra, and dispersed. These were not man-made. They were created by a source of energy. The leader landed. However, he remembered his opponent behind him as he spun, lashing out his hand as he did. Lightning generated from his palm. Upon his spinning motion, he had went through one-handed seals and released a short range lightning attack. However, it should be able to end his opponent. To his utter shock though, when the lightning surged forward and reached to his opponent, the person slammed their hand down. The temperature dropped immediately at an incredible rate. A massive wall of ice erupted in front of the individual. The lightning slammed into it, but it was unable to fully go through. The leader could sense the danger as he leaped back, but he was not fast enough. The ice had burst outwards. One of the spikes ripped into his shoulder, another into his leg. His 2 teammates leaped over his head, the both of them finishing their hand signs. They linked their techniques together and formed it into something more dangerous. A dragon made from lightning surge and fused together. It was large. It came down with an incredible force. Boom! The whole area was decimated. The wall of ice was reduced to crumbles. Everything was destroyed. Both of them landed in front of their leader, who was trying to recuperate as a stinging pain flushed through him. However, to their shock, when the smoke and dust cleared, there was a gigantic tree. It had been burnt in most areas because of the lightning, and majority of it looked like it was about to collapse, yet it was still standing. Underneath it was the individual. The tree had wrapped around him and over him protectively to keep him safe in the attack. The two ninjas were shocked. Suddenly, he held his hand up and clapped them together. The ninjas knew that something was coming before they could even make a move though. Was that blood? Blood generated from his fingertips and shoot forward like a spear. The single action of the ninja on the right saved his life. Instead of going through his skull, it tore into his shoulder. He dropped down to the side, his friend quickly rushing in front of him, going through hand sign as he slammed his hand down, showing a mastery in earth manipulation as well. He created a giant wall to buy them a few precious seconds. That is when they heard him speak for the first time. Sound amplification. Sonar waves, he said. They were thrown. A massive sonar wave crack and obliterate the wall. The two of them plus their leader was launched to all different areas. The teenager was now in mid-air as he had leaped upwards. The leader, who was still trying to balance himself out, was unable to react as a teenager landed in front of him and swiped his legs from underneath him. Before he could fall, a feet crashed right in his stomach, knocking the air out of him. He bounced across the ground before slamming into a tree, further making his body scream in pain. That is when an unusual creature with 4 eyes, its body was like that of a serpent, burst outside of the ground. It wrapped around the man, pinning him to the tree. It started to squeeze. Its tail quickly hooked onto the man's pouch and tore it and threw it, causing the teenager to reach out and catch said pouch. He opened as he looked inside. He pulled out the scroll, his gaze going over it. He quickly stuffed it in his own pouch. Once he had and secured said scroll, as the two ninjas started to get up, he muttered under his breath, "Ice manipulation." Frozen calm, he said. The screams were the last thing that could be heard throughout the forest. None of the ninjas from Kumo made it. None at all. We skipped to the teenager as he was leaping from tree to tree. As he met up at the rendezvous point, 2 ninjas appeared in front of him. They had on masks, the standard blank mask for the organization known as Root, a very secretive and powerful organization. The two of them looked at him as he pulled out the scroll. As he handed it to the one in front of him, his gaze swept over the scroll. He then looked up. "Survivors," he said. "None." The teenager spoke. "Let's go." With that, all 3 of them made their way off. This seemed to be a common occurrence, given the fact that none of them even bat an eye at what had just taken place. Time skip. The Hidden Leaf. Konoha, the mightiest nation of all. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage, the leader of the village, the professor, the god of shinobi sat. As he was thinking about the future team placement, and he had to say, as much as he didn't like to agree with the man, Danzo was correct in this. Yes, Danzo was correct. His mind was focusing on a single person. His name was Naruto. Naruto Oda, the child. Hiruzen had to make Danzo take over his training because he doubted that anyone else in the village had the capability or what it takes to handle such a unusual, unpredictable child. He knew no other that could handle someone like him. Naruto was not born in Konoha. A few years back, a group of his envoys were investigating an empty temple after there were sightings of strange fluctuation emerging from said area. The temple was within the Fire Nation. It was a surprise that no one has found it since. It resided deep, deep underground. Hiruzen had made his way out there after the startling discovery. Flashback. Hiruzen Sarutobi was checking out the temple. There was a reason they called him the professor. Hiruzen liked to have knowledge about almost everything. Knowledge was something that fueled him to study and find out what it was. So hearing that there was a temple that was unexplored, well, he was curious. Not to mention, he had handed the reins over to Minato. Yes, currently, Minato Namikaze was the leader of this village. And Hiruzen had a lot of free time, so exploring the temple was something that he found interesting. The deeper they went, the more they realized that this was a past civilization. This was a home to some people that lived here before even Konoha was ever established. The ruins, the old markings and the words that none of them could read, as the kanjis were not their normal kanjis. The deeper they went, the more they came across. Everything seemed to have turned into stone, as Hiruzen came across a bookshelf, but the books were literal stone. As he touched them, the material, it felt like stone, but at the same time, it looked like a rare jewel or something, and they were completely wedged inside. They went straight down, exploring and looking out for traps just in case. That is when one of his envoys came across a certain room. What seemed to be a coffin laid inside, right in the center. Hiruzen was shocked when he saw the words. The words were something they could understand. Given the first interaction they had with these strange kanjis, these strange letters, he thought all of it would be nothing that they could comprehend, but yet he was wrong. Hiruzen's gaze went over them. Majority of them were scratched out, like someone had deliberately removed them. Or maybe it was the age of time that had came for them like it would for everyone. It read, "The Odas are everlasting. Even in death, we shall traverse. We shall continue. We shall go through. We shall born. We shall see. We shall walk. We shall run. We shall die. We shall born once again." Hiruzen wondered if this was referring to reincarnation, because that seemed to be what this clan, if he had to say, believed in. He read over as he followed it towards the coffin. "Here lie the last Oda, which shall rise and do what was meant of him. He shall succeed where the others fail. His rising will bring forward." Hiruzen could not see anything right there. Once again, it seems like it was taken down by the hands of time. This place was really old. He skipped over towards the other part. The letters for world was there, but he could not make out the other words. He turned over towards. His name is Naruto Oda. There was something there. The first kanji was K. Hiruzen could not make it out though. The rest of it, that is. There was nothing else. all of it wither away. He wondered if something was truly inside of this. To be more exact, someone, as he rested his hand on it. Harrison checked out the carvings, the strange markings, when suddenly he realized his hand was stuck. He tried to pry it off. The Anvus came to their former Hokage aid. Harrison could not move his hand suddenly. He cried out in pain. None of the Anvus knew what to do. Harrison could feel his energy being sucked out of him. Not his chakra, but his energy to go on. His chakra was not being touched, and there was something else that was being pulled out of him. His body was getting weaker and weaker. The idea to remove his hand came to mind before this thing sucked him dry until he fell back. It released him. Harrison blinked. The Anvus rushed into his side. Suddenly, the entire place was filled with smoke. The top of the strange coffin had opened up, flooding the place. The smoke was not harmful though. Harrison brushed it away as the Anvus helped him to his feet. That is when he heard it. A sharp intake of air. Harrison stepped forward on surprise, shaky legs. Gazing forward the Anvus, making sure that he did not approach too closely. As Harrison looked inside, what he saw truly surprised him. It was a child, wrapped in golden cloth all around him. It was a baby, to be more exact. He had unusual eyes. They were blue, but they were not just your standard blue. They were so full. Harrison felt like he was gazing into something that he did not truly understood, and he would never understood. His pupil was black. Everything else was blue. It was like a single snowflake, one that could not be replicated, something that could never be duplicated. As for his hair, it was gold. Not yellow, gold. Yes, pure gold. It shined with an unnatural gold color. Harrison looked down towards the boy that was not crying or making a fuss. The inside was soft and seemed to be comfortable. He raised both of his hands. Harrison raised a hand forward despite the Anvus' protests. It was a good thing that the Anvus were really reactive. The Anvu next to him pulled his blade out and swiped. Yes, he had to. A strange creature that looked like a mix between a snake and a ravaged dog had emerged out of the boy's arm, seemingly just appeared to bite Harrison's head clean off. The head collapsed down to the ground, and the body disappeared in black smoke. The head also disappeared in black smoke. Harrison raised an eyebrow in complete shock, not quite understanding what the hell was that. End of flashback. From that day on, Harrison decided to bring the child back. Him and Minato had discussed everything that had happened. They decided to keep the child under constant watch. Given what happened, it would not be wise to place him in the orphanage. As he grew, tragedy had struck when he was 2 years old. Unfortunately, Harrison watched as the nine-tailed fox ravaged through the village. Minato did not make it. The problem was, the more Naruto grew, the more his power became erratic and out of his control. And at the time, Harrison had to retake the mantle of Hokage. Danzo had saw the child and his latent potential that could be used for Konoha. So Harrison gave the boy over to him, knowing that if anyone could, Danzo could, as he made sure to get regular updates. So Danzo was not doing anything that Harrison would be against, and he told him that the boy would not stay in the darkness forever. He will be put in the light. A few years after, Hiruzen was shocked when Danzo 100% agreed with him. Hiruzen had tried everything to find out what Danzo was playing at by agreeing with him. Because knowing their past and their interaction, he refused to believe that the man just had a change of heart. Yet he could find nothing that tell him otherwise. Nothing at all. And to this day he still did not fully trust what Danzo wanted at all. Why would he, given the past things that he's done? But despite the things that he's done, Hiruzen knew that just like him, he wanted the betterment of Konoha. But he did his actions in a few different ways that Hiruzen would not. Hiruzen had disbanded Root, but he knew that Danzo still had a few members that he was using on his missions. Maybe he had grown too relaxed because he even allowed Naruto to partake in these missions to give him an outside world experience. So far, the child has been showing great promises. Hiruzen had recently seen him perform, and he had to say, the child was truly powerful. While his techniques might be unusual and strange, they truly help him because there was no other on the planet that possessed such techniques. And given the fact that he was 100% loyal to the village, that was a really good thing. But the time has come now, and it was time that he step into the light and step away from the darkness. He still could not understand how Danzo was so willingly to do this. He thought he would have fought more for the boy, but that did not seem to be the case. Not at all. Well, Hiruzen wasn't aware of everything. At the moment, Naruto was on one knee as his golden hair came down with two bangs in his face. It was smooth. The edges were a bit jagged, but the rest was smooth and laid on his head. It was almost fluffy. When you were to lay your hands on it, it was incredibly soft. His blue eyes that seemed like a open, wide little world of their own looked up towards the man that has taught him and guided him. It is time for you to step away from Root, Danzo said to the child. It's time for me to honor my agreement with Hiruzen. You will be placed on Team 7 with Sasuke Uchiha and the holder of the Nine Tails, Mito Uzumaki. As I told you earlier, you are to watch and monitor Sasuke Uchiha and make sure that he does not step out of line. We do not want another rogue ninja. If the situation looks like it, you are to do everything within your power to make sure that he sees this village as his forever home. This will be the place that he fights and dies for. Do you understand me? The 15-year-old nodded his head. As for the Nine Tails holder, I've already briefed you on what to do when it comes to her. The boy nodded his head once again. You may rise, said Danzo as he walked towards Naruto and rested a hand on his shoulder. You are one of my greatest accomplishments, he said, and your path is laid out in front of you. I have guided you this far. It is now your time to seize the opportunities that will be placed in front of you. Do not let me down. Naruto placed a hand right at his chest. I will not fail, he said. I will use your teachings well. I will use them to guide me to reach the position that will secure me the leadership of this village. And I will create it in a better and greater image as the one that stands tall amongst the other nations and eclipse them. Konoha is always the mightiest, and it will never fall. It shall never be broken. Danzo smirked when he heard that. You are dismissed, he said, as the child simply turned and walked. Danzo knew that he was getting old, and soon enough, his goal for Hokage had seemed out of his reach. The more time passed, the more he seemed unable to reach it. So what could he do about that? Find someone that was perfectly fitted for the role. And Naruto was truly perfect. The child had a mind that seemed to have no limit. He could learn everything. There was nothing that seemed to be out of his reach. Even things that should be impossible was within his grasp. Granted, he was just a child now. He has more room to grow. But Danzo knew that there was no one on this living planet that could stop this child once he reached full maturity. Once he gained full control. Once he was able to wield his abilities like that. He's watched the boy progress over the years. And he was the first out of all of his subordinates that had the grasp on everything. That had the mindset to rule. Danzo would put no one else in that position but this boy. As of right now, no one knew of him. No one knew what he's capable of. But the world shall see soon enough. After all, Danzo had told him what to do. To step into the spotlight. Hiruzen might believe that Danzo was letting him go out of the goodness of his heart, but he has already gave the boy something to hold on to. Something to strive for. And Danzo had no doubt in his mind that the boy would reach it. And Danzo would benefit greatly from this as well. Konoha will never fall. It will always stand tall. And in the future, it shall be the only powerful one. Danzo smirked at that thought. Meanwhile, as Naruto grabbed his things, his armor, his blade, all sorts of unusual weapons, he walked out of Root HQ without looking back. The place was never really a home. Like one would think, it was mostly a training session. For a few years, none of the other individuals inside had the capability of holding a conversation with him. The reason? They were not like him. They did not have emotions. Granted, Naruto was grateful for all that Danzo had done for him, but he hated how emotionless all the subordinates were. He hated how little Danzo thought of their life. However, that should not concern him. Danzo could never strip Naruto's emotions away. As cold as Naruto was, he still felt it all: empathy, grief, sadness, rage. Danzo could never take that away from him. Because he was not like them. He was not like the others. He was special, different, vastly more powerful than them. He's known for a long time that he wasn't normal. He's known that for a very long time. He's came across several things that show him that. Mainly his abilities. Starting from his blood manipulation to his curse techniques. And he had a lot of them. This was something that no one else that he has come across seemed to possess. When he was 10 years old, he was brought to where he was found. Yes, they told him everything. However, Naruto could not read any of the symbols. He found that odd. If this was his birth home, then why couldn't he read any of them? And strangely enough, he did not feel any attachment to the place. Most of the urgings was rubbed off to tell him what he was supposed to do. He was from this clan known as Oda, yet he didn't know what the Odas are. Countless years of studying and tried to find a glimpse, even a mention of them, but never has he found a single thing regarding to this Oda clan. Something that has always confused him. But maybe they were so low-key that no one ever brought anything up with them, which would be truly unusual. However, that would just stress him out more than give him anything to focus on. So he chose to release that. As Naruto stepped outside, he was located in the forest. He took a deep breath before he exhaled. He jumped up as he landed in a tree. He then vanished out of sight. Naruto reappeared within the village parameters. as he started to walk. As he walked past, many people started to take notice of him. Granted, there was countless people within the Hidden Leaf village. However, seeing people on a daily basis lets you know that they were around here or from this area. But most had never seen Naruto in their entire life. So yes, they would be looking at him oddly. There were a few girls around his age, some even older, as they stare at him as he walked, their cheeks getting red. He had found out about that from he was 14 years old. His looks, compared to the average and even greater than average male, he greatly surpassed them in the looks area. He has been told several times while he was on an undercover mission that he was severely handsome. So he was not surprised when they stop and stare, or when their emotions start to flare because of his looks. He could feel their emotions. Just another one of his curse techniques. As he calmly walked, making his way, walking through the village, many people stopped as they looked at him. His hair had a really standout issue about it. Many blondes were in Konoha, but his was not blonde, it was gold. And it was rather shocking. And his eyes, people said that looking into them felt like they were staring into an abyss that they could not escape. Something that seemed to suck and pull them inside. As Naruto made his way, he arrived towards the entrance of the tower. He was stopped by the two ninjas there. The Hokage is expecting me. I am Naruto Oda, he said. The both of them nodded as they stepped aside, allowing him to enter. They were given special orders to allow him inside. Naruto made his way. As he made his way up the several floors, he's never been here in the daytime before, only in the night. He came to a stop. I'll be with you in a moment. The receptionist, a woman in her late 20s. She finally glanced up, and she was caught off guard by this young man look. He did not look his age. Naruto looked much older. His face had no baby fat. It was lean, muscular. Maybe it was all the hard training that he was put through. Hellish training that let him reach where he was right now. Hello there. I believe the Hokage is waiting to speak with me. I am Naruto Oda. She glanced into his eyes. It was like she was staring into his soul and he was staring back at her. She blinked. Yes. You can go on in, she said to him. The woman found herself stuttering as she tried to control herself at feeling such a rush of emotions by just gazing at him. Just who exactly is he? She thought to herself. She had seen his name on the appointment list, and she wondered who he was. As Naruto knocked on the door, despite being told to go inside, Hiruzen told the person to enter, and he looked up to see. Ah, Naruto, he said. He was smiling, like a grandfather did to a grandchild. Hokage-sama, said Naruto, a smile of his own. It is good to see you again. Yes, we haven't spoken some months, Hiruzen said. Well, the life of a ninja, and as a Hokage, is quite busy. More than one is led to believe. Yes, you're quite right, my boy. Have a seat. As Naruto sat down, how are you, Hiruzen said. I'm doing quite fine. Hiruzen looked at him. I know that Danzo has been making you go on several missions. Not just for the experience, but because you were able to achieve a rate of 100% success. And he realized that is something that he couldn't afford to just leave lying around. So tell me, how has it truly been? You wish to know what is my mental state? Well, yes, Hiruzen said. Is that something that you can define and tell me right now? Well, Naruto gazed behind him, through the window. The world is not a pretty place. I've been doing this since I was 13 years old. Before that, it was always inside training. It was always hell. if one might put it in that way. It was pretty hard. Yet, the more time I spent doing it, the more I got used to it. I know that most would see Danzo-sama as a monster. You do as well. I can see it in the way you spoke. When you said his name. And yes, I too see him as a monster. Hiruzen blink, hearing Naruto say that. His methods of training are barbaric and cruel. However, it is necessary. Most would never reach their full potential. Most will never achieve what they need to in this life, unless they're pushed. And I'm one such person. I've been pushed to the limit, and back. And I've seen the world and what it has to offer, and I must say, sometime, the shadow is necessary, more than the light. If there's one thing I agree with him with, that is one of them, Hiruzen said. There are certain things I had to do. Certain things that we all had to do for the betterment of Konoha. And I will have it no other way. This place is my home. When I see the kids outside, playing and talking with their friends, it does make me feel a bit sad that I never had the childhood they had. But it does make me feel happy that I was a part of the reason why their childhood is so happy right now, to make sure that they're safe. Hiruzen felt bad about that part, as Naruto never grew up as a normal child. Hiruzen smiled at Naruto's response. I can tell. You kept in contact through it all, and it seemed to have done you some good as well. Yes, it has. Well, things are going to be different now. You can finally experience a life that you never had. Make friends. Go out there. Bond with your comrades. Even get a little girlfriend, Hiruzen said, with a smile. Well, that's something I'm looking forward to. I would like to experience the life of a ninja outside, and the life of a member of this village. As Naruto was smiling at Hiruzen, his smile was infectious and so warm. For one that has been through what Danzo had put them through, he was a truly surprising case. He was making Hiruzen rethink a lot, but no. Not everyone was like Naruto. He was special. They started to discuss the team that Naruto would be placed on. Despite the fact that he was being basically demoted back down to genin level, well, he was never really given a true rank. He did not seem upset. Hiruzen had already found him an apartment and everything. Naruto had been paid for his missions, his very dangerous mission, so the rent was nothing to worry about, and the place was good. A bit large, because he was used to a smaller environment, but still. Naruto took the key from the man, as Hiruzen had done him a favor and had the first 3 months taken care of. Naruto had thanked him for that. As he dismissed him, Naruto stepped towards the door. There is another thing. I've seen how this village is run. I've seen what it takes. In the beginning, I didn't know what I wanted. But now, I think I do. Oh? And what is that? Here's an axe. I would want to take your position. As Naruto glanced towards his hat. To become a protector. A ruler. A leader, he said. Hiruzen smiled here and that. So another person after his hat, a little redhead, came to mind. Well, you have competition, he said. Well, I'm not surprised. Being the Hokage is a great honor. Yes, there are many competitions, Hiruzen said, but there is one in particular. She's going to be your teammate. Well, I'm looking forward to meeting her, said Naruto. Time skip. Naruto opened the door as he looked inside. The place could at least accommodate for 2 people. He didn't know why the big space, or maybe this was natural. Given his small little bunk, maybe this was natural for normal living. He's read a lot about how normal people operate, However, he feel like he could not really understand it because he never lived it. So yeah, now was his time to live. He had a mission, but that was already in the works. So there was nothing for him to stress himself out about. Well, it's time to make some friends, he thought to himself. As he made his way, Naruto introduced himself to the landlady. She was sweet. In her early 50s, she was really nice. Having someone like him in the building was gonna be a step up, she said. Huh, he laughed at that. Well, he did have a great personality. As she laughed at what he said, he introduced himself to the other tenants. Some did not care. Some were more friendly. As it was a rather large building, his place was on the 3rd level. It was a good place. They were not in the lower district of Konoha. Not in the super high district where the clans reside either. But this was good enough for him. He had no qualms with fancy stuff, so yeah, that wasn't really much of a problem. He decided to go and get himself something to eat. He's not used to all kinds of food. All he mostly fed on while he was down there was things that kept your energy up and things that made sure that you were battle ready. As he was walking, someone rushed past him. Naruto blinked. Said person was being chased by. Was those Anvus? Naruto was rather surprised. How could a child run away from Anvus? Naruto watched as a child use some kind of sheet that was painted like the fence to hide herself. He sat there, looking rather amused. She came out of her hiding spot when she noticed him. What are you looking at? She said. Oh, nothing, said Naruto. She took off. Strange, Naruto thought. As he made his way, he smelled something rather heavenly. As he stopped, right in front of the place. It was a small, family-owned restaurant, it seems. A ramen restaurant. As Naruto moved the curtain, the person had their back turned. They turned around instantly. How may we... She stuttered. Was completely shocked. Her breath was taken away. This individual that stood in front of her, he was so handsome. It was really shocking. His looks had this dazzling effect that caught people's gaze and didn't want to let go. She had to forcefully snap herself out of it. Welcome to the Ichiraku Ramen restaurant, she said. How may we serve you today? Ichiraku Ramen, huh? Said Naruto as he made his way and sat down. As he looked at the menu and what they have to offer. I'll start off with a bowl of miso ramen, he said. Coming right up, she said. As she needed to find an excuse so that she could get rid of the blushing that was coming over her. She came back a few minutes later with his ramen in tow. Thank you, said Naruto. You're welcome, she said. He brought the chopsticks and he took his first. It was amazing. Wow, this is incredible. Did you make this? Said Naruto. No, my father did. He's the cook. Well, give my compliments to the chef. It's truly amazing. It is, huh? A voice said as Naruto looked up to see the old man. Yes, it is. Really, said Naruto, a smile on his face. Well, it's always nice to have a new customer. And you've met my lovely daughter, Ayam. Toki said with a smile. As he was doing this to tease her, seeing how flustered she was around this newcomer. Her face turned bright red as Naruto glanced towards her. Well, I haven't had the full courtesy yet. As Naruto cleaned his hand. It's a pleasure to meet you, he said. As he took her hand. My name is Naruto Oda. She took a breath. I am Ichiraku, she said. With a smile on her face and a tinge of blush that she was trying her best to control. Well, I must return back to this wonderful meal, he said, as he started to eat once again. I prayed that something came to distract her, because she wanted to talk to him but he was eating, and she knew that wasn't proper. That is when, a voice said. She turned, happy for the distraction. Mito, she said with a smile. Mito Uzumaki came inside, looking as chipper as ever and happy. She just pulled off an awesome prank. She leaped up and landed on the stool. 2 large bowls of miso ramen, she said. Coming right up, Ayam said as she made her way. Hey, it's you, said Mito. Me? Naruto said as he looked behind him. Yeah, you, she said. You're the one that I saw earlier. Yes, Naruto said to her. Well, why were you staring at me? Oh, I was just surprised, he said. Surprised about what? How clever you were to trick those envoys, and that it actually paid off. Really? You like my trick, huh? Well, yes, said Naruto. Yeah, I'm pretty awesome at hiding and those things. And pranks as well. I'm the #1 prank puller around Konoha. You probably don't know that because I've never seen you before, and I've seen a lot of people. Who are you? I am Naruto Oda, he said. How about you? Me? Oh, I am Mito Uzumaki, future Hokage of this village. I'll be the first and greatest female Hokage to ever walk this earth, she said. She started to laugh for what seemed to be no reason. I'm sure you will, said Naruto. Hey, are you doubting me? No, said Naruto. You're not? Why would I? You seem like a very nice person, and you have your goals and dreams set in front of you. I wish you luck, he said. He was smiling. Mito found herself blushing as she turned away. Well, thanks, she said. She was now feeling strange. As her 2 bowls arrived, why couldn't she gouge on them like she usually did? She was eating slow and taking her time. Ayam instantly noticed. Being around someone as hot as Naruto, it was hard to, pig out like Mito usually did. Despite the age difference, every girl had their dignity. Well, she was just 2 years younger. And Naruto persona was just so nice. It made you wanted to be nice, which was rather strange. As Naruto thanked the chef for the meal once again, and Ayam as well as he paid. He even paid for Mito's meal as well, wishing her luck. Who was he? Mito said as he went away. Well, it's the first time I've met him, Ayam said. But he's really... As she had this look in her eyes, she never finished her sentence. Mito's stomach started to rumble. She turned back towards her food as she started to eat, with a gusto. She blinked as she realized that she was so caught up, she never even thanked him. When she went outside, he was gone though. She wondered, would she see him again? Time skip. Later that day, Mito finally arrived home. As she was standing inside of her apartment, she was looking at her headband that she recently got after her encounter with Mizuki. That was a saddening piece of information to find out. But now she knew why some people look at her that way. She had the 9-tail sealed inside of her. The reason why she did not have the headband on was simple. If she was going to be a ninja of the village, she couldn't afford to be pulling pranks anymore. So she decided to take it off, to pull one final prank for the ages. And it was good, and it was worth it as well. But now, it was time that she grew up a bit. She had to focus. She was now a ninja of the village. Not just any kunoichi though. She was a holder of the most powerfulest beast ever. The one that almost destroyed Konoha. Throughout her whole life, people has looked down upon her. They have glared at her, whisper behind her backs, while they have not tried to physically harm her. The isolation and the pain was, it was mentally and even physically broken sometime. when she cried by herself when she was alone. However, she swore to herself a long time ago she would prove all of them wrong. She would rise above whatever they were saying. She would become something great. She could feel it in her bones. It was her destiny to become something great. She smiled to herself. She was incredibly happy. As she put her headband on, she looked into the mirror, parted her hair. Nice, she said. Her whiskered cheeks up happy as she was smiling brightly. Time skip. Mito stepped into the class. Many others turned to look at her. Surprise. They thought that she had failed. You pass? Kiba said surprise. Is Puppy Akamaru on his head? Well, she pointed towards her headband. Are you blind? I'm just surprised. Thought you failed, he said to her. He walked away. He had a little crush on her. However, he was not gonna say that to her. He was glad that she was here. Maybe they would be put on the same team. Now that would be awesome, he thought to himself. It would give him enough time to, well, worm his way into her heart. As he had a little crazy dream that maybe he would get to be put in a team with Hinata and her. Hinata was another person that he was crushing on. Oh, that would be truly amazing, he thought. As he imagined himself as their proud hero, the both of them smiling up at him. Kiba, you saved us! Are you daydreaming again? He snapped out of his thoughts as Shino appeared. Man, Shino, you can't just sneak up on someone like that. Shino blinked. I was right here the entire time. Well, I didn't see you. Yeah, no one ever does, Shino said. Kiba turned towards him. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Shino simply sulked away. Come on, Shino, Kiba said, trying to cheer him up. As Mito walked over as she sat down. Hey, jackass. Look at this. The jackass that she was speaking to was none other than Sasuke Uchiha. He turned towards her, and the look that he gave her was not one that he usually gave people that irritate him. He just seemed surprised. Tuh. Who the hell in their right mind decided to give you a headband? Are they crazy? Well, even if they are, I have one now. And that means you're not gonna be the only ninja. As she was smiling. Well, it doesn't matter. It's not like we're on the same level. For the last time, you're not better than me. Past encounters would say I am. The both of them were not really close friends, but the both of them seemed to get each other more than any other person. Mito always found it rather good to insult Sasuke for being a jackass. And how stuck up he was. And she did not hold back sometimes. She was the only one that was able to do that. The other girls were crushing on Sasuke so much they couldn't even fathom talking to him like that. Yet Mito did not see him like that. And that was good for Sasuke because the others, they were just annoying. He didn't have much friends ever since what happened, but she was the closest thing to a friend that he could say. Glaring at her was Sakura and Ino, both girls who were obsessed with the Uchiha, and they hated how close Mito was to him, something that they could never achieve, and that angered them. The door opened and everyone expected to be Aruka. However, Mito blinked. Naruto? His name instantly came to her mind. Sasuke glanced towards her, as everyone wondered who was this guy. Was he a stand-in for Aruka or what? As Naruto noticed an empty seat as he walked over and sat down, further confusing everyone. Mito was the first to get up as she walked over. Hey, what are you doing here? Ino blinked. She knew him? Oh, I never mentioned yesterday. As Naruto reached up and moved, his shirt that was covering the headband, which was tied around his neck. I'm a freshly graduated genin. What? How? I've never seen you here before in my life. That's because your new classmate there for the few minutes that you have him is a special promoted genin from the Hokage. What? So he got to skip all of the boring classes? How is that fair, Kiba said. Are you saying my classes are boring? Aruka said, activating his big-headed jutsu as Kiba shrunk down. As he quickly scampered away, Aruka cleared his throat. The Hokage was the one that put him here. And I know that none of you here doubts your Hokage, correct? As all of them remained quiet, even though we only have a few minutes left. Naruto, why don't you introduce yourself to the people, he said. As Naruto walked up towards the head of the class. It's a pleasure to meet you all, he said. My name is Naruto Oda. It's a shame that I was never here to become friends with you or be part of the class experience. But I'm glad that we get to meet either way, he said, with a charming smile. Many of the girls in the class got hearts in their eyes, and the fact that he was older than them made it a whole lot better for a lot of them. Well, in their fantasy. However, Naruto saw all of them, Mito, every single one of them as just children. Yes, in his eyes they were just little babies, and they're taking their first step in the outside world. Well, he supposed that it was the same for him, in understanding about human normal cultures. After all, things were not going to be the same as they was. It ought to be good, he thought to himself, unaware to either of them. Something or someone was watching them. Whatever it was clouded in darkness. It spoke with an unusual voice. So, the destroyer and the savior meet. To think, they're so different, and yet, because of all of that chaos, they seem to be the same. The person found a lot of humor in what they were saying. To think, he's been resorted to this, and unsure, calm, still rather rootless, but still. It's only a matter of time though, for him to truly know his purpose, and know why he's here, to know why he's alive. Let's see which one of them will come out on top. Let's see if a friendship can even spark out of this. A destroyer and the savior being friends. How will it end? How will it play out in the finale? The person threw their head back and laughed, finding it quite hilarious. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm going to see you guys soon. Peace.